Hey guys, I'm Gary, and this is your exclusive movie review of Ben Affleck's The Way Back. I've always been a fan of Ben Affleck's through his earlier career with all his Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer movies. Not so much his films with Jennifer Lopez. He's never really had to have a comeback. He's always been in the limelight somehow. He's never really been a throwaway actor, especially now that he's got a lot more experience with his directing career. But I gotta say, I loved him in Daredevil. I loved him in The Town. I loved him in Paycheck. I can't really, other than a very small few, even his worst movies like Reindeer Games. I thoroughly enjoyed. I would say like most, if not all, of his movies are really good, unless he's like kind of like a side character that's just in there to promote the movie a little bit better. He's always been an actor really focused on a character. He's never really been a two-dimensional character as far as I could tell. Now, a few years ago, he did a movie called The Accountant, which I thought was just amazing. I love the whole aspect of taking two elements. You got your hitman, and you got somewhat of a special needs individual, and you kind of put those together to make a really a pretty masterful, entertaining film. With Gavin O'Connor, the director, he's a pretty fascinating director too. He's done movies like Warrior, The Accountant. With The Way Back, it's a sports film, and I've said before in previous reviews that I'm not really a sports movie kind of guy. Only when it really comes to fighting, like boxing and UFC. In this movie, it's basketball. Now, the basics of this movie is about this washed up character played by Ben Affleck who hasn't played basketball since I think it was high school. He's gone through some really heavy traumatic experiences in the last couple of years, and he's a drunk. Every chance he gets, he drinks in the shower. He drinks and drives. He drinks at work. He drinks. You know, it doesn't matter where he is. He's got a beer somewhere. I guess they're trying to show you that no matter where this character is, he brings his turmoil, his depression, his sadness with him. A priest comes to his door and asks him, "Hey, you want to coach the old basketball team, right?" He has no experience coaching, but they're giving him a shot anyways. This movie felt, in a lot of ways, kind of choppy. They did dwell on like small things with his alcoholism, but they didn't really give you much of what was going on with his head, why he was depressed. Obviously, you knew that it was something traumatic that happened in the past, right? But I felt like the movie didn't really give you hints until it absolutely needed to. And it kind of bothered me a little bit because it was just like I feel like I was coming along for the ride. I wasn't 100% invested because I didn't know what was going on with him. You know, you'd see all these examples in the movies how he's depressed and how much he drinks, but there's no little hints yet until you get to maybe an hour into the movie, and I just felt kind of a little bit senseless at that in that stage. He agrees to coach his basketball team, but not before I've seen this done before, and I'm pretty sure many of you have. If you have to let somebody down, right, and you're constantly going through it in your head why you're turning that person down or making excuses why you're turning that person down. And so there's a point where Ben Affleck does this, and that was an interesting moment because I feel like that's pretty realistic. That shit really happens. He actually ends up coaching the team. He's got his own way of doing it. He's not really religious to a sense, or at least they don't show that. So he swears every time he's frustrated or pissed off at one of his basketball players or or a referee or whatever. Right? Several times throughout the movie, you have characters being like, you got to calm that language down. This is not that kind of environment. This movie goes really deep into his character and his turmoil, his sadness and all that, right? It goes deep in there, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And then you find out why he is the way he is. It was a little bit underwhelming. I won't give away the whole thing. I felt that watching this movie, putting all this time and effort into watching this movie, I thought, oh, what they're going to reveal. This is a Ben Affleck movie directed by Gavin O'Connor. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they're not gonna do something cliche. It's going to be different. There's something there that's going to be a lot more different than the movies that you've seen like this before. But by the end of the movie, it was basically the same thing I've seen 10, 15 times before. It was disappointing in that way. Very disappointing in that way. I guess what you have to really look at is maybe the first hour of this movie is probably the best. Yes, you have your ending where, everything for the most part is resolved, and even though this Ben Affleck's character is not completely happy, he's like, it'll do. It was kind of thing, right? Where like he's willing to accept his life a little bit more and cut down on the drinking. There's a point in the movie where he does cut down on the drinking, completely cold turkey. But of course, something happens with him remembering his past, and then he goes back to drinking again, right? If you're looking for like a simple emotional movie, yeah, it's a good movie, right? If you're not looking for something too complicated, it's definitely a good movie for that. It's a little bit disappointing with the ending. And if you're a basketball fan, the movie's not really it's not huge on the basketball. Like it is, like near the end of the movie, you got these big tournaments, but it doesn't really focus a lot on basketball, and it doesn't focus a lot on the players of the basketball team, right? You got your small moments here and there, but it's not really, it's all about Ben Affleck like it should be. But I feel like they could have done more with the basketball. This felt like one of those movies where, maybe Ben Affleck had nothing to do for 5 months, and neither did Gavin O'Connor, so they smacked this movie together. And because they're both creative individuals, creative artists, they managed to make this movie decently. But it just felt like it needed an extra push to be a lot better with its ending. But I will say this is probably, I would say, one of Ben Affleck's better performances. Like, he actually does a really good job. And he put on 30 pounds for this movie, according to, I think it was IMDb. They make him look like an ordinary man in this. He's not like this pretty boy or this handsome looking fellow or whatever. A big chubby dude he's got that woodsman look to him, right? With, minus the plaid shirts and the toque and stuff like that. This movie had a lot of potential, and it met almost halfway there. I think it was good. I'd definitely recommend this movie. But there were certain elements, like I said, that were just, they could have been more creative with. Thanks for watching, and please share. If you agree or disagree, put a comment down below me.